Hello everyone, AIG here. I have a statement and a question followed along with it, and I want to know if this resonates with you at all. Indie game development is bigger now more than ever thanks to a passion for the medium as well as free online tools and resources. You've got your Unreal engines for development and design, Blender for 3D modeling, rigging, animation, plus more, and you have many platforms such as GOG, Steam, and itch.io to launch your game to the public. Unfortunately, everyone with internet access has the same means of using these tools, and only a small percentage are actually interested in game development. But that small percentage is still massive, and almost every day of the week some new game is released, and a large amount of those games are indie. What do you get when you combine a newbie indie dev with a free game dev kit? That's right, you get a sea of mediocre or bad games. But you gotta start somewhere, right?
Your product sucks! It's terrible! Right? You shouldn't be embarrassed!
So here's my question. Do you find it difficult to swim amongst the sea of indie game devs? Is it hard for you to compete with so much noise? If so, this video is for you because today I'd like to provide you with some insight on how you can properly perform in the high tides of video game development. Before we begin, I'd just like to put out a disclaimer. I am by no means a professional, nor do I hold any expertise in the gaming industry. I'm just here to share my thoughts and help indie devs create better games. Without further ado, let's begin. So, competition. A great motivator, but also a great distraction. It can be entertaining to watch other studios release their new projects, not only to play them, but to see if you can try and top their efforts. However, as time goes on, you begin to develop that pesky imposter syndrome. Maybe I can't create a game that will be as big as Undertale or Hollow Knight. Or they're just more creatively intelligent in coming up with new mechanics for their game and writing cohesive and engaging stories. I'll never be able to make a successful indie game. These kinds of thoughts are inevitable. The ego gets in the way sometimes and discourages us from doing hard things. And one thing that is extremely hard is creating something original. People say being original is not possible and that everything has been thought of already. Best part about originality in the gaming space is you don't need to achieve it. All you need to do is come close. Which brings me to my first point. Create your own inspiration. A task easier said than done, of course. Inspiration doesn't just fall on your front doorstep. From all the movies we've seen, the games we've played, people we've interacted with, are all forms of inspiration that's derived from a source outside of yourself, which can conflict with trying to achieve something original, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Good things can come from a sturdy foundation on uncharted territory. For example, Fortnite, a very popular battle royale, ran because PUBG walked, and PUBG walked because of the custom game mode in Arma 3. Needless to say, battle royales were somewhat of a fresh idea in the multiplayer genre of gaming. But what happens when you are trapped in that cyclical inspiration loop, where you only receive ideas from others' work and don't bother to think outside of the box? Well, a few things can happen. For one, focus on what makes a game instantly recognizable or meaningful loses its luster, in the sense that competition becomes an automatic default. As a result of this, comparisons amongst the audience begin to form about what each game has to offer and which decision is worth their time. Secondly, the false rat race begins of others competing against one another over audience attention. Ideas are then copied from each other or modified slightly to seemingly create a better game, but ultimately become clusters of thrown together mechanics and tactics. Something people may not understand about business is that it's not a race at all, it's all made up. The reason the race does not exist is because competition, when thought of from a branding standpoint, is pointless. The entire reason for your existence should be to solve a problem for someone in the best way possible. Competition with others also acts as a substitute for creative focus on your own projects as well. Why be creatively ambitious when you can just grab what works from others and implement those things into the game? Let's say all games that are quote-unquote competing with each other suddenly disappear and there is only one game left of that specific type. Do they win? If so, where's the finish line? It doesn't matter because it isn't real. There are no winners, there is no prize. Which is why it is best to compete with yourself, which can only be done by exiting the cycle and creating your own inspiration. So how exactly can this be carried out? How do you create your own inspiration? This may seem a little far-fetched or out there, but one thing you can do is improve your state of dreaming. You know, before you go to bed or even daydreaming. Improve your recollection on dreams and study how you can make them more vivid. It's something everyone does, so why not spend a bit of effort on using them to your advantage? In order to do this, you can set a dream journal on the side of your bed, and as soon as you wake up, try to remember as much details of that dream as you possibly can. This can help you pull any creative ideas that you might not have thought of while being awake, or maybe anything from your dream can help you solve any problems you've had working on your projects. Another way to inspire yourself is to document any new intriguing experiences you have with everyday life. Seems like the most non-advice advice ever, but sometimes the best games are created from the most simple aspects of everyday life. Take Zelda for example. Broken down into bite-sized pieces, the game is just about a young hero exploring the world he's in to save it from the evils that want to consume it. Alright, so what's next? Now we must think of something that no one else is doing in the current space. Very tricky and obvious. Or is it? What can you think of in terms of strategies that will help you accomplish this? Let's start with a broad question and work our way down. What do most indie devs / studios have in common? Now let's get a little more complex. What are successful indie studios missing? A little bit harder to determine, right? They are already successful. What could they possibly be missing? Ultimately, what we are trying to do is over-deliver on the expectations set within the current space. The bar is set, so how can we move the bar in the direction we want it to go and set it for ourselves? One unfortunate standard that's set in the current space are unfinished games or games feeling incomplete on release. I'm not referring to early access games, I'm talking about full releases. Finishing your game is just one way of looking at solving this issue. Another way of perceiving the matter is free DLC to an already finished game. These things aren't really foreign at all, which molds with the idea of originality I talked about earlier. What can you do that will make a person go, that thing started with them, or they were the first to do this? All in all, competition is only as fierce as you make it out to be. A warning before I go, don't overcomplicate things and focus on making your game as fun as it can possibly be. With that being said, thanks for watching. As usual, I am an intelligent gamer, and like always, I will see you in the next video.